What's the best way to reframe the conversation around value instead of price? This is a common objection that a lot of us get based off of the price or being too expensive. One thing I will tell you is sometimes you have to take pride in being more expensive. And what that means is when you're more expensive, there's a reason for it. Typically, if there isn't a reason for it, then it doesn't really make sense. So what is the reason why you could be more expensive is the first question I would ask you. You see, for me, if you work with me on anything and I'm $1,000 more expensive than the next guy or gal, I'm worth that $1,000. Why? I'd say because of my experience. Why? Because of my clear-cut communication. Why? Because I battle for your business. Why? Because I keep you updated every step of the way. Why? Because I get to know you on another level. Why? Because I customize a solution for you. These 7, 8, 9 things that I'm going to keep listing off to you are going to be included in my initial conversation I have with somebody. So how does this sound during initial conversation? Well, if you take your conversation that's typically 15 to 30 minutes long, inside of that 15 to 30 minutes, you should have like 1 seed, 2 seed, 3 seed, 4 seed, 5 seed, 6 seed that reminds somebody why working with you is worth it and why working with you is valuable. Now, here's where you run into issues, where you have clients that you talk to that think you're too expensive, and throughout the whole conversation, you never told them or told them enough why it's really worth working with you over everybody else. You never branded enough. You never differentiated yourself from the competition enough. You never made them feel special enough. And I think that's the bigger issue when a lot of times the cost comes into play. Now, if you're looking at financing, I always break it down. One good trick you could do, specifically in mortgages and car loans and purchases, refinances, anything where it comes to financing over 5 to 30 years, I always love to say like, yeah, so it looks like it's $2,000 cheaper. $2,000 divided by 360 months is, $5.50. Am I worth $5.50 a month because the cost is all rolled in and finance over 30 years? I'm definitely worth that $5. Here's the reason why, Mr. Client. Because number one, this option I gave you was customized to your life. I know in 3 years, Bobby's going to be graduating high school. I know in 5 years, you want to retire. I also know that in 1 year, I'm going to call you back because I have to do that other thing for you. And I'm painting a vision for them with hey, this is not just a one-time solution. This is a long-term solution. I got to know you. I'm professional. I'm experienced. You're not going to get bait and switch with me. You're not going to have a bad experience. You're not going to call me and I'm not going to answer. All of these things are going to come out, but they don't only come out at the end, because when they come out at the end, it sounds like you're being combative. You're defending yourself. My costs are this because of A, B, and C. Instead, you want to do the 8-mile play and get rid of that objection by mentioning why you're a little more expensive and why your quality is a lot better than your competition throughout the phone call. So again, to answer that question, I would say the expensive objection needs to be addressed with you planting seeds throughout the conversation to let them know why your quality is better, why you're worth it, and why they shouldn't leave. And that should be sprinkled throughout your first conversation. Cheaper is not always better. And there's a quote by Benjamin Franklin that I like to use. The bitterness of poor quality remains long after the sweetness of low prices forgotten. And what that means for people is that look, you might be excited for getting a cheap price and how sweet it is that you got a low price, but that's quickly forgotten after you receive poor quality service or a poor experience. The experience outweighs the cost by a landslide. And you want to remind people of that. Shout out to Benjamin Franklin. You could use that one in your sales as well. Sometimes I even send the gif of a quote of him saying that, and I send that to them. Or sometimes I'll put it in the bottom of my email as a quote. These are the kind of things you got to be doing as well to make your emails, texts, voicemails a little more spicy. Moving on to another question. When somebody says I'm happy with my current provider, how can I politely challenge that and showcase my advantages? Great question. I've had people tell me before in sales, I'm happy working with a family member. I'm working with a friend. I've been with my bank or credit union for 10, 20 years. I don't want to change. I'm loyal to who I have. And the best way to combat that is to acknowledge that and praise that. The first thing I say is, oh, wow, I really respect your loyalty. I'm the same kind of guy. If I'm working with somebody, if I know somebody for a long time, comfortable, you gotta really show me something special for me to ever leave them. So I respect that. Now just understand, because I respect that and because I'm almost the same in that sense, I would never ever pull you away from somebody you're working with unless it made total sense. So let's see if it does make sense for you, if that person's taking care of you. What were you looking to get done? And I do the quick pivot. What were you looking to get done? And that's where I steer the conversation, and then I figure out if they're really being taken care of or not. And look, if they are truly being taken care of, I might just be honest with them and let them know you're being taken taken care of. That's a pretty competitive offer. But if I see any holes in their service or product they're being offered, anything I could poke in there, then you best believe I'm going to build my sale. I'm going to build my value, and I'm going to let them know at the end, I appreciate you giving me the time. I know that you appreciate working with this person you've been with for 10 years. Heck, you're a great friend for them. You could still call them to go for drinks. You could still be their Facebook friend. But when it comes to this product or service today, you're going to have to go with me because here's what I was able to do for you. And bam, I spill out the presentation right then and there. And I framed it in a way where it's like, you're leaving this person. It's going to be all right. We're going to get through it together. And here's the reason why you're leaving them. Bam. And I smack daddy it right there. So that's how I'd address it. I'd address it by acknowledging it, by telling them that they're great, loyal people for that. We respect that. I admire that. Let's make sure you're getting taken care of. I'd never pull you away from somebody you're working with unless it made total sense. And it usually works because, like, what are they going to say? Nah, f*** you, asshole. I don't want you to see if it makes sense. You know, it's going to be hard for them to say that. All right, here's one more objection one. I'm going to hop out of the objection ones. I keep getting, I need to think about it. How do I respond? Every single time I do, people tell me I sound pushy, but I just want to get the deal moving forward. I'm losing a lot of these. Okay, I need to think about it. A lot of us get these objections. I think we get it on every single call. Every time we have a Q&A, we get this objection and it still comes up. And that's okay. Look, people are always going to need to think about it. Just understand that somebody saying I need to think about it is a smokescreen. If a friend invites you somewhere and you really don't want to go to that place, what's the first thing you tell that friend? Let me think about it. Does that mean you actually want to think about it, or does that mean you're trying to buy yourself time? It usually means you're trying to buy yourself time. So when somebody tells you I want to think about it, what it really means is a couple different things. The first thing it means is the quality of the conversation and the depth of the relationship wasn't deep enough for them to not have to think about it by the end of the conversation. So the first thing as great salespeople or as great business people that we need to do is we need to be honest with ourselves and look in the mirror and say, did I do a good enough job in this conversation for them to not have to think about it at the end? Or did I kind of rush or not explain things well enough or go deep enough where now they still want to think about it? That's the first thing I'd ask. And I tell you this for a reason, because if you want to be great in life, if you want to be great in sales, you have to take responsibility and look in the mirror first. So that's the first thing I would ask you is how deep are you going in the conversation? Because if you have a really, really great conversation and you dot all your I's and cross all your T's and you explain everything and you go deep and you get the emotional benefits and you explain the good, bad, and ugly and the future and the past and the present, all of this stuff usually creates an outcome that doesn't require thinking. But let's just say you do all those things, right? You're like, nah, Ace, it's not that. I'm having a great conversation. They're still telling me I need to think about it. In that case, it's a smokescreen. So all you have to say is, of course. A lot of times I like to think about things myself. But let me tell you this. From what we talked about so far, you told me your main goals were A, B, and C. This is where you recap the pain points or the pleasure points. Humans run towards pleasure or run from pain. Everybody needs to make a move. We just got to figure out why they need to make that move. So you need to have that in your conversation. If you don't, you got to rewind, take a new call, have that conversation, then go back to the I need to think about it. Because once I have that, I'd say you told me the most important thing to you was getting some flexibility and freedom when the school year starts, right? The thing that was bothering you the most was having those 3 kids in that little stuffed up little car that you have and having your wife complain about it all the time, Nancy, right? And then the third one is like, and you also told me that you were raised with your parents not leaving you any money, and the one thing that would make you satisfied and happy is leaving something back for your kids. Like that's like a mortgage example, that's like a car example, and that's a life insurance example. I'm just giving you different examples because there's different people on the call, so I'm trying to apply it to everybody listening. But you could take it and apply it to whatever you sell, whatever product or service you have. So like when you recap, so you told me your goals were A, B, and C, right? You told me your goal was A, right? The reason I say right, side note, is because I want to get the yes train going, because the client says, yeah, right. And I say, perfect. And you told me number 2, your other goal was that you never want to go back to blah, 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 right? And the client's like, yes. All right, I got 2 yeses now. The yes train. Let's keep the yes going. Yes, 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 all the way to the touchdown. And you also told me the third thing was blah, 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 right? Yes. Perfect. So when it comes to think about it, I think we had a pretty well thought conversation here, Bob. I mean, I think the only thing to think about is how can we get this done faster? And the next steps are very simple. Here's what I need you to do. I'm gonna pivot right back into my close because I just restated everything and it made total sense. And I literally had this, I wish I recorded this call 2 days days ago, I had a phone call with somebody where the guy couldn't do a refinance. It was a mortgages. He couldn't do a refinance because he has foundation issues going on. And I got him approved for a cash out with no appraisal. And it was a higher rate, but it was a temporary solution. And I hit him with a temporary solution, higher interest rate, but no appraisal required. Get you the cash, fix up your house 6 months from now. Call me again, lower your rate, fix you up, rate and term, get you some savings. And I was like shocked that I got the appraisal waived for this guy. And then he hits me with, let me just think everything, run it through, and then I'll get back to you. And I told him, wait, let me get this straight. Let me just say it back out loud to you. Because look, if you want to think about it or wait, trust me, my phone's ringing. There's a lot of business out there. It's not about being pushy or being salesy, but I just want to talk to you real quickly, man to man. And I said, look, you have these foundation issues, right? Yeah. You need to get things paid off, right? Like you have these contractors calling you haven't paid them all the money. There's things coming down the pipe, right? Yeah. The credit cards are almost maxed out, right? Yeah. Your credit score is almost going down the gutter. No offense, right? Yeah. There is no waiting or thinking on this. I'm giving you an option that's going to clear up all of this for you. No appraisal and no risk. And in 6 months, we're going to get it done again. And right after I told him that, he said, you're right, man. What's the next steps? And he said that because I went deep enough with him in the first conversation to know the pain points and to know if you don't do this with me, there's more pain coming. And I got to stop you and prevent you from going to that pain so we could get to the pleasure. And where does the pleasure come from? The pleasure comes from 6 months down the line, we save you some money. 12 months down the line, your credit score's in the 700s. 18 months down the line, you get that Corvette you always wanted. 28 months down the line, you and your wife are taking vacations again. Where do all these things come from down the line? It comes from a deep conversation. Like a lot of times these questions don't even matter if you're not having a deep conversation. That's the crazy part. I was at another shop today, listening to somebody's phone call. Somebody that's been through like 10 or 11 trainings with me that their company's paid for, listening to their phone call. Literally. Doesn't know I'm listening. I'm just in the back listening to the phone call. What do I hear? How much cash do you need? Got it. And what's your monthly payment? And do you know what your escrows are? You don't know your taxes and insurance? The guy's thinking about it for 5 minutes. We're waiting for him to tell us taxes and insurance because we can't fucking figure that out ourselves. Okay. And what's the value? Okay. And let me put this together for you. Give me about 5 minutes. Store my number and then I'll call you back in 5 minutes. Okay. The guy's like, who am I talking to again? Then he gives him the brand at the end when the guy asks for it. Give me 5 minutes. I'll call you back. Hangs up. Ace, I got a hot one. You want to pitch this for me? Like, what? Are you crazy? I was listening to that fucking call the whole time. You don't belong in this job. You don't belong in this chair. I'm sorry. Is the guy married? What does he have in assets? Why does he need this? How's his life? Is he comfortable? Like all these things and all these pain points and pleasure points. Unconscious sales, I call it. People are unconscious. They don't understand. It's not even sales. Like if you want to do a good mindset shift, start calling sales therapy. If you look at sales like therapy, you'll do a lot more deals. You know why? Because you actually got to listen in therapy, you got to care in therapy, and you got to go deep in therapy. That's what it is. It's life coaching, it's therapy, it's being a counselor, it's being an advisor. That's what true sales is. So anyways, this kid, this is true story, by the way. So I make him go back and I make him write down bullets, like 18 bullets of things he has to ask this client on the second call. True story. This is today. He writes down the things. I said, you're going to call him back. You're going to ask if he's married. You're going to ask him how much he has in assets. You're going to ask him why he only has that much in assets. You're going to ask him how much would he like to have in assets. You're going to ask him what would he do more with assets. You're going to ask him what does he need to cash out for. You're going to ask him how have things changed in his life. And like I wrote down all of these things. He called. I listened. I made him go through every single one of these things and spend 25 minutes building a relationship. By the end of it, he figured out when the last time the guy did a vacation, that the guy loves to go to the Keys. If he had to pick one place, he'd go to the Keys in Florida. He found out that the wife was in the background. We got her involved, got her on speaker, got her bought in. And then by the end of it, the loan was sold without him even selling numbers. And then he's like, damn, so it does work. I'm like, yeah, yeah, it does work. I've been trying to tell you, it works. Care about people, build relationships, and it works. I don't know how I got there, but I got there. I think it was I need to think about it. So anyways, you got to have deep conversations with people to even get to I need to think about it. We got some live questions coming in. All right, here's one. I'm going to answer a couple live questions and I'll jump back to these emailed questions. How are you creating urgency in this market with all the people who came back with, oh, I'm going to wait till the rates go down in September or the rates are coming down this year and I'm going to wait? Great question. Here's how I dealt with this with some guy today at the same place I was at. This guy's getting $85,000. He's paying off debts. His overall expenses are going down by $400 or $500. He wants to make a good investment and he hits us with the I want to wait. And I'm going back and forth with him, telling him, look, I understand you wanting to wait and there is a possibility the rates may go down. There's also a possibility the rates may go up, right? There's an election, there's war going on, there's inflation, there's a recession. Your value is still very high, which is a positive for you. With all this uncertainty in the world, I don't know if it's the best time to wait. My grandpa used to always tell me a bird in the hand is better than two in the bush. You have one in the hand right now. If things get better in the future like you say, we'll just drop the rate for you, brother, and I'll cover all the costs for you. And I won't make any money on the second loan. If that makes you feel satisfied, I'll get it in an email for you. And if they go down, I got your back with it. I'll give you a non-profitable loan the second time. I promise you that. And if they go up, you're fixed and locked at this point. Then this guy continued to tell me, no, I'm going to wait. They're going to go down. They're definitely going to go down. I said, you know what? How confident are you that they're going to go down? He said, very confident. I said, all right, let's flip the script. Instead of giving you a 5.5%, I'm going to give you an 8.25%. He's like, what? I said, yeah, 8.25%. I'm going to give you an 8.25% for free. Take all the cash. And then in 6 months, when the rates go down, because you know they're going down, right? Go ahead and refinance it and you can pay the cost then. He said, send me the numbers. Yeah, you want to gamble on the market? If you got the crystal ball, take the highest rate, no cost, and in 6 months, since you're the genius that thinks the market's going to fall, take it. Or if you don't, we could go down to the middle, or we could stay at the bottom. You could take what I have, and I might give you a couple thousand in credit just to get you to close right now. So that's what I did with this guy. He hasn't texted back yet to say if it's going to work, but I think it was a good play. And he asked for the numbers, and he asked a couple more questions. So, I mean, he's digging deeper into it, but that's typically what I do. If I have somebody purchasing, wanting to wait, the easiest thing to do for that is tell them, like, look, waiting is, you're going to wait for a frenzy, right? If things are already competitive right now, how do you think they're going to be if interest rates drop for a purchase? Yeah, you'll get a point cheaper in rate, 2 points cheaper in rate. You'll put another $100,000 offer on a house. Which one's worth more to you? $100 a month or $100,000 out of pocket? So like for purchase, that doesn't make sense at all, right? When you find the right house you want to buy. So that's some of the things I use for urgency. I also talk about urgency should be sprinkled throughout the conversation. You should talk about COVID and the lockdown, and if it's possible to have another lockdown. You should be talking about the elections. You should be talking about, the war. You should be talking about guidelines getting stricter. You should be talking about uncertainty. Like, don't be a conspiracy theorist, but bring up conspiracies, because we don't know. Some conspiracies are coming to fruition. And the reason I bring those up is because, like, the only thing we have right now is certainty, and what I could do for you today is give you this cash or get you this property or finance you this car. Whatever it is, that's what we have right now. And the truth of the matter is we're in a fucked up world right now. It is up. There is a lot of crazy things going on. So in the right sense, we're not lying or doing anything salesy. We're just telling them, hey, it's a crazy world. Do you really want to wait? We're saying that in a professional way by dropping seeds about it and planting urgency. And then also figuring out why it's so important right now, so the wait objection goes away. Right. What else we got here? What type of introduction do you use for ag leads? We went over this a little, I think, 2 weeks ago, but I was saying that your introduction should be a little bit customized to you. So I always say, like, I could give you my introduction, but I would create your own brand and your own introduction, because every person's unique and you got to find out what that uniqueness is. Somebody signed up for one-on-one coaching. This individual might be on the call, so I won't say the name, but they signed up for one-on-one coaching and we created them their own brand. And unfortunately they had, a bad accident and they were going into being a fireman, right? A fireman, and got into a bad accident before that. And that changed their life. And, they were close to a near-death experience. And we literally made that the brand. And we sent pictures to clients of the firefighter, and we talked about the life change that this person had. And we talked about how their sole purpose is to help people now, being at home in an office on a chair because they can't do what they really wanted to do. And like, we tied in an emotional story behind the personal brand, and they're getting more responses because of this story. So a lot of times you got to create that uniqueness within you to find your own personal brand. And that's what I help people do in the one-on-one sessions. I try to find out what's unique to them and how could we display that to the world. But my brand changes, man. I use a couple of brands. It's Ace With You with Ace's Mortgage Shop or Ace's Academy. Not here to waste any of your time. You're flagged for a phenomenal opportunity online. What were you looking to get accomplished? Or it's Ace With You. I've been in the industry for over a decade. I work with, a ton of different lenders. I've also been a financial advisor. And my only goal is to find out if there's something that makes sense for you and your family. And I look out for what's best for my clients and not the lender. So why don't you update me on your goals? So like, I rotate between different, brands and introductions. Sometimes I jump straight into it if it's a fresh lead. Hey, it's Ace With You. I just got your information. What are you looking to get done? And then I can brand a little later. So it really just depends on how I'm feeling and what kind of lead it is. All right, rapport building. I struggle to connect with people over the phone. Any tips for building rapport quickly and making a good first impression? So many things with this one. All right, again, it's all going to go back to that first conversation, going deep enough and creating value off that first conversation. So what I tell people is, if you had a deep conversation with me, you made a great impression to make it last. Like, what's a great impression and what's a great relationship? I think a great relationship is like, you shared 3 stories, you got 3 stories, you had 2 laughs, you had 2 emotional moments, you were curious person, you dug deep, you planted urgency, you created the need for your product or service. Like these are 7 or 8 things that I think about when I think about great relationships. Like you should write those things down. Also, you guys are in the academy. If you go to the relationship building chapter, all these things are in there. I always say write these things down and rate yourself a point for every single time you do it, and that'll force you to create a great relationship. So if you're doing all of that on the first call, like they're not going to ghost you because there's actually a relationship there. Also, I talk about leaving a good text and a good email right after the conversation directly, instantly, but putting something personal in there that you learned from the client and putting that inside the text and email. That's going to make them remember you. And I think that's really what it falls down to, having a great conversation and then letting them know that you listened in that conversation by customizing the text and the email after. Not sending a chart or a quote or whatever it is that you send, but doing something unique and special. So I think that would get your prospects answering your calls a lot more. I feel like just talking to people, I'm not actually with them. How can I create a more engaging conversational sales experience? Today I said, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And depending on how you say it, makes you feel it. So how do you feel? And I said that because I said a lot of times where you're not having engaging conversations, it's really because of how you feel. And think about that for a second. Think about a day where you felt great and you went into work great and things were going great and it was a great day. Did you have any bad conversations that day? And you probably think to yourself and you're like, no, I had a kick-ass day that day. Why? It's because you felt great. And I don't know what was behind feeling great that day for you. Maybe it was, a relationship, that you finally got the chick or the dude that you always wanted. Maybe it was getting a bonus at work. Maybe it was getting a promotion. Maybe it was a friend coming, traveling in town to see you. Maybe it was you had a big night. Like I always say, Fridays, when I have plans, I used to go and dress to work and I would work till 6, 7, pour my first drink at 6:37 and go out right after, and I'd be in a good mood because I'm about to go out, and those were like good sales days. So I always tell people, like, you got to figure out what makes you feel good. And then more importantly, you got to figure out what's stopping you from feeling good. That's really where like the success clogged bubble comes into place. That's stopping us from reaching success. Is there's something clogging us. I've had that clogged before where something's inside of us, like, I don't know, childhood trauma, a bad relationship fight, a family member that's just, you get that phone call that you just can't turn off. It's just a phone call that you up, and then that makes you not feel good. And because you don't feel good, you're not performing good, you're not sounding good, you're not engaging good, but all of that connects to the internal bubble inside of there. So I tell people, like, you got to figure out that bubble and letting go of that bubble and giving time to heal that bubble and becoming free of that bubble, and then everything else follows. And that's what I truly think. I think if you're not engaged and having engaging conversations, there's really something blocking you internal that has nothing to do with sales or your job. And you could tell me if I'm wrong. So it really doesn't matter all the tips that I give you or what I say to this, because if something's wrong inside, it's going to be hard for you to perform outside. And again, that happens to me sometimes. And I know when it happens to me. Sometimes I don't know when it's happening at the current moment because it just takes you over. But then a couple hours go by, you're like, I wasn't even myself today, because we're just human and sometimes we can't control it. But if you ignore that problem and you keep pushing it to the side, then it's going to continue to pop back up and affect you. But if you just take that problem out, look it in the eye, and you just deal with that problem and you solve that problem and you squash that problem, then you can continue to move forward. So I don't know if anybody's feeling that answer, but it's definitely real. I'm an introvert and small talk doesn't come natural to me. How can I still build rapport with clients without feeling fake? That's a good one. So I had an introvert on my team that I used to train, and this dude was very, very smart. So the way that he would gain value with clients is just with being smart. Instead of just sending emails, he'd send amorizations. He'd go super deep with them on numbers. He would talk about finances, and it was stuff that it's not really conversational. It's just stuff that he was good at, and he would discuss it. And he was very monotone and clear and to the point. But when the clients talked to this person, they knew he knew what he was talking about. So I would say, if you're an introvert, find something that you're extremely passionate about or that you're extremely valuable in, and showcase that. A lot of times we try to focus on all of our opportunities and weaknesses when all we have to do is just focus on our one major strength and go all in on that to let that shine. All right, I'm getting overwhelmed with my to-do list. Any tips for staying organized and prioritizing my tasks? That was my day today. Does that look organized? It is organized. But some things popped out. I feel good now that everything's crossed off, but you don't want to get into the method of just feeling good for crossing things off a list and some things don't even matter. What I would tell you is you got to work your day into tunnels. And I would tell you that the deeper you get into your work, the more effective you are. So for example, if you're following up with somebody, if you compare the way you're going to sound in your follow-up in 10 minutes compared to if you keep going for an hour and a half, how you're going to sound that hour and 30th minute. The hour and 30th minute is like 10 levels above the version you're at right here. So what that means is the deeper you go into an activity, the better you get. So what you should do with your schedule is stop hopping around tasks and stick to one task, finish it out completely, and then move on. For example, if I'm doing 100 things at once and trying to answer an email, I most likely sound an email where I sound like an idiot in it because I wasn't really focused on the email. I was trying to type it out fast. I have typos in there. It sounds unprofessional. It sounds rude. Now somebody's getting upset with me on the other end, all because I wasn't focused on sending emails. Compared to if I said, it's 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock, I have from 2 to 2:30 to go through emails with my classical violin playing in the background, or your Future and Drake playing in the background, whatever the hell you want it to be. For me, it's classical music. I'm going to go there, read the emails, smile, think about, man, this person must be very frustrated today. Let me send them a good email back. And I'm focused and in the zone with sending emails. Those emails are going to be a lot better. And that's the same thing for everything. So I'd say follow up in tunnels, prospect in tunnels, front end business in tunnels, your in process in tunnels, your follow up in tunnels, your emails in tunnels, your break, even when you're eating your lunch, spend a half an hour eating your lunch. You know, I joke around sometimes about eating at the desk. Sometimes I walk away and I eat lunch and I just space out, and that's effective too. So the best way to stay organized is, break up your day into, time blocking tunnels, 3-4 tunnels for the day, and understand the deeper you get into that tunnel, the more effective you'll be. I'm interested in going into a leadership role. What skills and experience do I need to develop to make that transition? What should I do now? I'll tell you what I did. Before I was a leader at Rocket Mortgage years and years ago, I made this binder with how I would be as a leader with my team name and what my team would stand for and how I would break down this binder and what I would do. And then as soon as I became, number one, when I went to interview for a leader, I brought this binder with me. And because of this binder, I got the job. That was number one. Got the job over people that were way more experienced than me. So actually being prepared helped me get the role. Number two, I executed on the plan. As soon as I got it, I put people's faces in there, their goals, how much they make every single month, every conversation I had with them. I knew every single thing about every single team member on my team. And people started knowing me as the guy with the binder. This is like, 10, 12 years ago. And I still have this binder to remind myself of the things I did as a leader on day one. And those are the most important things that people should still be doing. And you know what? I've never ever walked into an office lately and seen a fucking leader have anything close to anything like this. Real talk. And those are the basics and the fundamentals that work. So to answer your question, if you want to get in a leadership role, pretend you're a leader right now. What do? Start mentoring somebody on your team. Show how you could take them to the next level. If you take them to the next level, that means you got a talent. And then you could take another person to the next level. You take 2 people to the next level, you're like, go to leadership right away. This is your thing. But understand that there's a downfall to leadership and a negative side to leadership, which is you're selfless. And if you think it's stressful having one family, try having another family, because that's what it is. Your team is like your kids, and you're playing therapy a lot for people, and you always eat last, and then you come home and eat last, and then you wake up and think your whole life is based off making people's lives better. And I think that's very rewarding. That's what I do here every single day. But I also enjoyed going back to sales sometimes and not worrying about anybody. So I think there's perks to both of them. If you really want to serve at a higher level and that makes you feel fulfilled, I think it's a good move. I'm Mark. I'm a seasoned car salesman with so many dealerships in town. It's tough to stand out. What's one thing you'd recommend highlighting to differentiate myself or my dealership? This is a good one. Make it an experience. When somebody comes to your business, when somebody comes to your page, when somebody comes to your website, when somebody comes to your social media, when somebody comes to your telephone, how could you make it a positive experience they don't forget? Like for a dealership, I would make it an experience. Right? What's one thing you could do at your dealership to make it an experience? Well, everybody lets people test drive their cars. If I was to open up a dealership, I would make a fucking Mario obstacle course. Instead of test driving my car, you could take my car down a fucking obstacle course. Now just think about that crazy idea. I just gave you a fucking golden idea right there. You literally go to the dealership, you test drive a vet, and you get to do it through an obstacle course. And I pay for a half acre of land to do that. And then you know what? People are coming to my dealership not only to test drive the car, but they're going to end up buying cars because they like it and they like the experience of doing it. And then maybe so many people are coming. I'm like, this is a great business idea. Why don't I open a separate business for the obstacle course? Then you create 2 businesses. But that all started from a creative idea. So I think you need to get creative and think to yourself, what's something I could do to bring people back to my business over and over again? Side note, I've always said that I hope somebody that's, rich one day, because I'm not rich enough to do it, opens up like a Mario Party resort. And the Mario Party resort, the vision that I have for it is it could be on an island or another country or even somewhere hot, but it has 2 resorts, family resort and an adult resort. Like imagine going with your friends and playing the Mario games, life-sized, jumping in little little landslides throughout the water, falling in ponds, go-karting with your friends, getting up if it's a boys trip or girls trip or a bachelor trip, and doing the adult adventures, or taking your family there. Like somebody needs to create a Mario Party island, or we just got to get rich enough to do it together, and we'll make Aces Academy an investment group and we'll get this thing done. But that's always been like a dream idea I've had, and I said, why hasn't anybody done this yet? Especially like when my son came up to me the other day and he's like, can we go to Texas? I'm like, Texas? My son's 4 years old. I'm like, what do you want to do in Texas? He said, I want to go to the Sonic place to eat food. I said, what Sonic place? And I guess Texas has a Sonic restaurant that has everything in Sonic theme. I actually looked it up because I wanted to find it. Yeah, Pop-Up Cafe. Like, I mean, small things like this. He wants to go to Texas to go eat burgers there. And I'm like, there has to be one in Michigan. I look, there isn't one in Michigan. I'm like, can I open one in Michigan? How much assets do you have to open up a Sonic? It's like these things, these themes, right? I talked about last time Airbnb that I went to in Orlando, and every room was painted, Toy Story room, a Mickey Mouse room. And like that Airbnb had like a 95% occupancy rate. Why? Because they painted the walls a different character for every room. So like these things, these small things that create a good experience or that catch someone's eye, those things, you master those things, you master money, my friends. You master money. All right, we're getting through. What else we got here? I manage a team of salespeople. Besides commissions, what kind of rewards, monetary or non-monetary, have you found to be really motivating for your team? Yeah, I think you got to find out what your team's fighting for. When I had a sales team, I had different sales teams. One team, that's all they wanted was time. We used to work a lot. They used to love time. So my reward for them was not monetary at all. It was literally like, you get 2 deals and 2 package backs. So 2 dock outs, 2 package backs. You get to leave at 2 o'clock on Friday. You get 3 and 3, you get to leave at 12 o'clock on Friday. And if you get 4 and 4, you're off on Friday for a personal day. And like that's something that they ran towards every single week, because they're like, I work my ass off Monday through Thursday and I get Friday off. That's something that I would work hard for all week because I understand the value of time. So that was like one example. Another time it was like, we're going to get a party bus and go to Cedar Point. There's one company I'm at today. They had a contest for the top team. They're going to Cedar Point on Saturday and a party bus. So I would ask your team, well, you should know your team first. If you know your team, you're going to know like this person probably likes this person wants a Rolex, this person wants time, this person wants that. And then like you get one person on your team to walk around and say, hey, he'll be the spokesperson for you, and figure out what they really want. And then you give them something they really want, and then they all fight for it because they really want it. The worst thing is like, yeah, guys, we get 10 deals today and I'm going to get you guys pizzas tomorrow. Nobody wants pizzas, so like a lot of times leaders throw out these contests or these awards that nobody really cares about. So like you saying that there's a contest for it actually makes production even worse because nobody wanted that to begin with, and you look like an idiot for even saying that, so yeah, figure out what's important to your people. Do a contest that matters. I'm in general sales. How do you stay on top of all the latest trends and customer preferences? Any favorite resources that you recommend? Yeah, I mean, literally. So the social media is starting to do better, but like, for example, my YouTube is not doing too well. And again, it's about being honest and looking in the mirror. I know why it's not doing too well is because I don't actually spend time saying, hey guys, welcome to my video. The video today is about how to respond to objections. I don't have time. I could create it. I haven't created it yet to actually make a dedicated YouTube video. So what I usually do is I take like snips of my consulting or snips of me on stage or a podcast, and I'm posting those on the YouTube channel to keep up consistently with content, which gets around 100, 150 views sometimes, okay? Some of them blew up, got thousands, few and far in between. So for me today, I was talking to my social media team. They're like, what ideas should we start doing? Because they want me to start recording YouTube videos. I said, why don't we go to YouTube and search the best sales videos right now? And then we went and seen 5 videos and we figured out the new theme and the trend and what kind of videos to post. We learned that YouTube is good for how-to videos. Everybody goes to YouTube to search how to do something. So we got to align with that theme. So I would say for you, go to whatever you're selling, or like if you're in management or you're trying to create culture, like start searching on every platform what creates great culture, see what's going on, see what's popping off, see what's doing the best, and then duplicate it for your team or company. All right, we got fresh blood. Recent graduate starting my sales career as a loan officer. Any advice for me navigating with this crazy market and interest rates? Yeah, my first piece of advice is it's not a crazy market and it isn't crazy interest rates. That's number one. If you want to say it's a crazy market, it's it's a crazy market because it's the hottest market ever. If I told you you want to sell bread when everybody in the neighborhood sells bread and we have an overwhelming amount of bread everywhere and you want to sell bread for top dollar, would you like to sell it there? Or if I told you you want to sell bread where every single other bakery is out of bread and you're the only one in the neighborhood that has bread, when do you want to sell the bread? When you're the only one that has it. Well, right now we're in a time where houses are very scarce, things are uncertain, and Americans don't have cash. The average American is struggling. When do you want to sell cash? When nobody has it. Not when everybody has it. In 2020, everybody had it. Everything was great. It was fishing out of a barrel. I would rather sell in 2024 than 2020 any day of the week. Why? Because that's where the true sales warriors come in. So while you're in here, understand that it's the most urgent time to sell, which means that you're needed the most and people need you the most. And what that means is for you, you're joining at the perfect time. And when the market comes down, you keep your habits, consistent habits of all the hard work and the follow-up and the preparation. If you keep all of those habits in a low market, then you're going to triple and quadruple your sales. But you know, salespeople that do great in bad markets and they do the same in good markets means they get lazy in good markets. For me, I did, 30 or 40 deals in the worst market in 2016. And then in 2020, you look behind me, I was doing 60, 70. I was tripling my numbers. Not staying at 40, 50 and staying comfortable, but no, doing more and keeping up with the same habits. So welcome to the game. Nothing's difficult. It's a frenzy. Get in and make some money. All right, let's try to tackle a few more of these. What's the biggest mistake you've made in your sales career and what did you learn from it? The biggest mistake I made in my sales career was over-promising and not being clear enough. I used to over-promise a lot. Yeah, we'll close in 5 days. Yeah, we'll get you this for this. Yeah, we'll do that for that. And then it would come back and bite me in the ass. So what I started doing is I started being very, very crystal clear because I learned that being crystal clear in sales saves you so much time on the back end of people calling you and hounding you and having conversations back and forth and doing so much cleanup work. So when somebody asks me if there's costs, typical response would be like, sometimes there isn't. We'll get to that later. Pivot, run away. I learned from that and I say like, yes, there's definitely costs. But let me explain to you how the costs work. They're rolled into the loan and finance over 10, 20, or 30 years. It really doesn't come out to much. And my job is to make sure the cost makes sense for you. So what were you looking to get accomplished? I didn't run away from it. I addressed it head on, told them why it shouldn't matter, and moved forward. That worked for me. I used to say like, yeah, we'll get this done for you in less than 10 days. That used to bite me in the ass. Now I say like, look, we could get this done as fast as 7 days, but it could also go as long as 60 days. It really depends on a few factors. Blah, 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 and blah, and how fast you do blah. Let's see what we could do. What are you trying to do this? And I pivot. So like doing these things actually help me. It's measuring twice, cutting once, being super upfront with people so you don't get bit in the ass later, doing the hard work right now so you don't do the hard work the whole time. So that was a mistake I've made. What's one piece of advice you'd give somebody in sales? I will go back to the same exact thing I said before, which is figure out that thing inside of you that either makes you feel good and do everything that makes you feel good in your personal life, whether that's family, relationship, health, passions, whatever that means to you. Figure out what makes you happy and get there. Or if there's something blocking you, there's blockage from feeling good and being happy, a sour relationship, bad health, not pursuing your passions, not making things right with your family, then I would fix that blockage so you could clear it and get back to the happiness and feeling good. Then everything else will be good. It all starts within. That's the best advice I could give somebody is you are the sale. The sale starts in the mirror, and that starts internally with how you feel and then how you look at yourself in the mirror, then how you project yourself to others. And it all starts with you, my friends. I'm considering switching industries. What do you recommend? Okay, the first thing I recommend if you're switching industries or switching, places of employment, I tell people like, look, you're not going to find the magic at the next place. Right? The magic again is found within. So if you're thinking about switching industries, the only time I respect that is if like one, you really, really need a change and you tried everything in your power to be successful. I respect that. Or two, you're really not passionate about what you're selling and there's something else you're more passionate about. If it's for those two reasons, switch the industry, switch a job, go for it. If it's just because you're not finding success where you are and you want to hop somewhere else because you think something else is going to be easier or better, don't do it. Like I see a lot of people that like take the world tour, like they go from broker shop to broker shop to broker shop, or life insurance to mortgages to car sale. Like these people are looking for the hidden gem. There is no hidden gem. You know where the hidden gem is? It's supposed to be in your stomach. You're supposed to take that gem, swallow it, eat it, and shit it out every single day because you are the fucking gem. And you have to master your own craft, and you have to master anything. Like, tell me right now to go sell vacuums. I'll sell 100 vacuums today in the neighborhood. Why? Because I could sell. The vacuum doesn't make me, I make the vacuum. The mortgage doesn't make me, I make the dreams for a client. Life insurance doesn't make me, I make the life insurance. So it's like, you have to realize that you are the gem, you are the gold, and you are the star. And once you realize that, everything else will follow. A lot of great questions today. We have a lot more questions left. Hopefully we could tag some of them in our next QA or get some new ones in. If you have any questions that were missed, I truly apologize. And I will tell you, if you need one-on-one attention, you have a spot on the Academy for one-on-one coaching. Sign up for a session. It's no commitment. It's pay as you go, and I'll make sure to make you proud and make you happy with the results like everybody else that's been signing up. Whatever you need, I got you. We'll customize a plan. Anything else you need, you could hit me up on the Discord and the Academy and the email and the social media through text. Whatever you need, I got your back. Thank you guys so much.